All right, everybody. What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome back to another Touch Designer tutorial. So today we are going to make this little video or photo switching program where, let's say you had an installation and you wanted people to be able to cycle through different videos, or you wanted to build something for your stage show where you could quickly go through different inputs. So I just want to go through, this is a very short video um, where we're going to essentially build this quick UI, attach a couple movie file ins, and off we go. Okay, so first things first, let's go ahead and delete that. I'm going to give you a quick glimpse of the network. So we have 4 buttons here, which are going to be running into a logic chop. And then out of that into another container, which has 1 constant and 3 movie file ins. You can do whatever you want. I just wanted to do a constant to show the color. Fed into a switch, which is controlled by the inputs of the buttons. Okay, so a couple new concepts that we're going to introduce today. So we're going to add in using the fan chop operator. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And then if we go over here, this is our first time using the logic chop operator. So, okay, here we go. So first things first, I am going to delete both of these containers. Okay. And actually what I'm going to do here, let me just start fresh. So I'm going to save this. But demos. And let's start a brand new Touch Designer. I'm using the non-commercial version, so you don't have to worry about paying for it. I just want to show you guys on this version. So first things first, let me just resize my window so that we're all good here. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to delete everything. So let's come out here. And we're going to delete all of the existing operators. All right. Then, if you remember in our last video, we talked about going inside and outside of the networks or your actual container. So you can go inside or out. So we're actually going to go up a level. All right, to our project and perform container. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to the layout page and we're going to make some adjustments. So we want our container to be 1920 by 1080. And what I'm going to do also is I'm going to actually turn the project viewer on because I want to show you, and let me minimize, right? I want to show you how this all kind of starts to take shape as we add in the different aspects of our containers and the layout and such. Okay, so we're here on a project container. We're on the layout page. We've changed the width. We've changed the height. Now we're going to go to the children page. Okay, and we want a line left to right. For spacing, we're going to make this 10. For our justified method, we want it group, and we want to do a vertical justified. Then also for fit, we're going to go ahead and do fit best. Okay, then we're going to go inside, so you can hit I. We're going inside of the containers. Now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add 2 more containers. So we're going to put one here, and we can just copy paste. We can slide it over here. Okay, and our first container, let's call UI. Our second container, let's call movies. All right. So for our UI container parameters, all right, we want to go to the layout page. For our width, we can do 640. For our height, we can do 1080, or again, if you know the shortcut, you can always just do parent dot project one dot what is it? Parent dot project one dot par dot h, and that's wrong because this should be project. Okay, parent dot project dot par dot h. Okay, so that's gonna make the UI the same height as the project container. All right. And then we are going to go to our look. All right, we'll check here. Parent alignment. Make sure that's on allow align order 0 because this is first. And then we're going to go over to our look page. Let's just change our background color to light gray. Okay. And then we're going to turn our background alpha on. Oops. Let me go up a level. All right, so we've turned our background alpha on. And then the last thing we're going to do is just how we're going to align our children inside of the container. So we can go ahead and make the align top to bottom. And we're going to do spacing of 5. So this is how we're going to align our buttons. Justify method group, justify horizontal, we want them in the center. Justify vertical, we want them in the center. And we want to do fit best. Okay. So now as you can see, we have our UI here, and then we have our movies kind of in the background. We're not going to adjust that just yet, but we'll come back and do that. All right, so the next thing we're going to do, let's go inside of our UI container. And what we want to do is start adding some of our button comp. So if we hit tab, we can go to the comp page and let's grab a button. Now, as you can see, as soon as we grab a button, it's been added to our inside of our container, which is on our, which is inside of our project, right? So now we can start making some changes. And the reason I wanted this here is so you can see how everything's going to kind of move around and how we're using the parameters and not really using X and Y to get everything aligned. You can get a better alignment and kind of keep everything in order if we do it in this manner. So we're going to add this button. Okay, and then we're going to go inside of our button and go to our text, and should already come up as selected, but we want to go to this text operator. And if you go to the text operator and change to always, we want to change the scale text to fit to always. Okay, then let's go outside. Oops, that's inside. Let's go up a level. Okay, so we're outside, and as you can see now, we can see button nice and big. And we're going to change a couple more things. So now we want to change the label to 1. And let's use all caps. Enter. And then we want the button type actually to be exclusive down. Okay, and now when we do that, that's going to give it a group. And so basically, what we're going to do is we're going to label the button labels videos or video. Okay, and so now what it's saying is any button inside of this group label, okay, will then be or will then react to other buttons assigned to this group, right? So we have our first button here. Okay, and then we're going to change a couple more things. Let's make this button red. Let's change this saturation to 0.8. So it's not as bright. Okay. And then I am going to add a null. So when I add a null, essentially that's showing Every time I click it, sending a value of 1. Okay, so the value 0, 1, 0, 1. So what we want to do here is we're going to select both the button and the null, and we're going to copy and paste. Okay. So now we have 4 buttons, and as you can see again, they're automatically being added and arranged on our canvas. So we're going to go to button 1, and you can probably guess how intuitive this is. We're going to name that 2. We're going to go to button 2. We're going to name that 3. We're going to go to button 4 and name that 4. Okay, and then to keep all of this organized, let's just go ahead and go cycle back through and just give our buttons some colors. Okay, you can kind of pick what makes sense. I'm going to go for red, blue, green, and purple. And just to be organized, okay, you could either assign it the name or the color. For the nulls, I'm going to just call them B1, B2, B3, and B4. Okay, so now we have 4 buttons, 4 nulls. Okay, as you can see, they are acting exclusively, okay, because they're all associated to this one group. So if I had added them independently, then they wouldn't be passing information between each other. But now that because they're in this group, again, you want to make sure that your button type is exclusive down and that you've assigned a group. So again, the group labels video. Now what we can do is we're going to go ahead and insert a logic chop. Now what a logic chop does is allows us to pass different expressions, kind of logical expressions, so like if and kind of things, or based on values being sent or actions being happen or actions happening, excuse me. So what we want to do here is add a logic chop and then just change our convert input to on when greater than 0. So meaning we want this to work when the value is greater than 0. Okay. So now we've added our logic chop, and we're going to close the network again by adding a null. Okay. Let's just call this buttons. All right. And then the last thing we need to do for this network is create an out chop. And what this out chop allows us to do is if we go up a level, now you will see an output, okay? Because we've added an output to this container, which allows us now to pass values, anything happening inside of our UI container, we can now pass outside, okay? So, next thing. Let's go ahead and go back inside real quick, and we just want to do a little housekeeping. So I'm going to hit Shift B and add a network box in case we need to move things around. Okay. And zoom in here. And we're going to call this UI. All right, and we can go up a level. So now we have the network box, and we're all good. Last thing we're going to do is add a null to our UI. So this, now think of this as a connector. Now you could go directly in, but I always like to add nulls because in case we want to change, swap just this network. Say we had a different user interface, but we want to keep our movies or we want to keep the content the same. By having the null, all we're gonna do is just we can switch between different user interfaces if we wanted, or we can add different things in front of the null and still maintain all of the connections after. So it's kind of like a checkpoint if you've ever played a lot of video games. So I like to add them as a checkpoint. Let's go inside of our movies container and get this together too. So first thing, actually, stop. Before we do that, first thing, let's get our parameters together. So for our width, we want that to be 1280. Okay, now again, you starting to see things jump around on the canvas automatically, and I'll explain in a second. And for our height, 1080. And I'm actually going to use a Python expression here. So we want to reference whatever the height is of the UI. So we can just do op or op parentheses quote what is that? Oh my gosh, I can't think. It's an apostrophe. OP parentheses apostrophe UI. Exactly how we spelled it. So capital apostrophe parentheses. Gotta remember that. It's always OP parentheses apostrophe UI apostrophe parentheses, and then we're gonna put in our parameters, which is .par or perimeter and .h. Hit enter. Okay, so now we have 1080. We have our height and width of our container. Okay. Second thing is we want to check our parent alignment, and this time we want our align order to be 1. And as you can see, the canvas moved around again. So what we're telling touchdesigner is that the UI is number 1 and that the movies container is number 2. And if we go up a level and look, see our children. So these are children of this container. And we want to go from left to right. We're grouping, we're justified in the center, and then we have a spacing of 10 in between. Okay, so now we can go inside again, and we have added a width, we have added our parameters. And so let's go inside of this, the movies container, and we're gonna add our first top. So what we want to do is go to our tops here. We're going to add a constant top. Okay. First things first, let's go to the common page and let's go to custom resolution. And if you hit the resolution, the black arrow to the furthest to the right will turn white or drop down, and just go ahead and select 1280 by 720. Okay, another way we could also do it is by referencing the width of the parent. Okay, so we put 1280 in for the parent width, and so we could just do parent parentheses dot par dot w, and that's going to give us the width of the parent, keep everything the same. So a lot of times it's easy to reference if you're not sure, or if you just know you want to keep things the same, you can just use the expression to reference it, and it'll allow you to add it that way. Next thing is 3 movie tops. So movie file in top, we're going to add 1. We're going to copy. Actually, before we copy, let's go ahead and go to common and let's limit the resolution so that we don't have any non-commercial issues. And we're going to make that set 1280 by 720. Okay. And then we're just going to copy and paste that twice. All right. And let's go back to our play page and add, we can add boxes to one, and we can go back to our play page and add the gray wedge to another. So now you have 4 different images that we could display. Okay. Next thing is to add a switch top, because we're going to want to be able to switch in between the different inputs. So we're going to connect all 4. So those will be referenced as index 0, 1, 2, and 3, right? Because the computer always counts from 0. Then we're going to add a transform top to handle any of our images that are transparent. So this will allow us to, for example, our banana. So if I, let's turn our switch on. So let's go to index 1. So that's our banana. And I'm just going to turn the viewer active display on for 1 second. Now, if you're looking at this banana, if I go to my transform now and I turn comp over background color on, nothing happens. It's because the alpha is 0, but if I change the alpha to 1, now the banana is being composited over top of a background. So anything that's transparent will then appear over a black background. Okay, I'm going to turn viewer active off. The next thing we need to do is add a null top. Okay, again, we're closing our network. Almost finished here. And then the final thing we need to do is add an out top. And this will allow us to see everything that's going on inside of our containers. Okay, so we've added this out top, and now we need to be able to connect a few things. So what we're going to do is go to the left side of our network and hit tab, and let's add an InChop. All right, so remember, before we have our null inside of our project network waiting to send some information in. So we have this InChop ready to go. So what we're going to do is, let's move this a little closer. Okay, so we can kind of see what's going on. So let's go up a level real quick. We're going to go up a level. First things first, let's connect this null to the in. So now our 2 networks are connected. And the second thing we're going to do, since we're outside of this network, is we're going to point the background top into the containers network. So if you just hit this expression of period, backslash, and then out 1, which is what we named the out top, or it's what it came named. Did we hit enter? Now you're going to see that the top has been added, and we're just going to change our top fill to fit fill best. Okay. And then we're going to go back inside of our movie container. And so now you can see that we have values coming in from the UI. And then we're also outputting what we see. So if I were to just go over here to our switch chop and change the index to 0, that's going to send. And if I change it to 3, okay. So you can see everything changing before we're hooking up our switch. Last thing we need to do is we're going to take a fan operator or chop. And so what a fan does is takes all of the information that we're sending, and it brings it in. So, for example, we're sending 4 different values, right? 0, 1, 2, 3. Now, if you look at the InChop, however, the values really being sent are 1, 1, 1, 1. Well, what we're saying is that for each channel that's being sent in, change the actual value. So fan that value in. So now 1 is 1, but or 1 is 0, right? And then now you have 0 or 2 being 1, 3 being 2, and 4 being 3. Okay, so 0 to 3. Then we're going to null it. Now let's go ahead and turn the viewer active. All right, so hit the little star, that's the far right button. That's going to turn the viewer active. And there's one more thing we need to do. We're going to highlight switch. And with the viewer active, select it and drag it and drop it onto the index. When the menu comes up, we're going to hit export chop. So now, every time we hit the UI, the video changes. So a very simple way to create a video switcher. Okay. If you want something easy to make, it's very quick. It doesn't take many operators. Okay. Let me just maximize it here so you can see a little bit better. All right. All right, so again, thanks for stopping by. Let me know in the comments other videos you'd like us to work on. We're going to start with a lot of basic principles just to get you able to navigate through touchdesigner, because I really feel like the more concepts that you know and the more concepts that you can kind of string together, the more complex you can make your art with inside touchdesigner. All right, see you guys soon. Thanks. Make sure you subscribe. Stay creative.